Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Fiona Hood and I'm the brand architect at Image 7. Our topic today is how to differentiate your firm from the competition. Let me introduce the presenters and we'll get the webinar started. Our first presenter is Brad Entwistle, Image 7's founder and managing director. And our second presenter is Andrew Scully Sculthorpe, who is our business director. If you listen to our fortnightly podcast, you will know their voice as well. So guys, let's begin the webinar.
Hello and welcome. This is Scully, Andrew Sculthorpe here to talk to you about differentiation. And before we do that, a little word about Image 7. We've been around over a quarter of a century now, and we have offices and members of the team working in far-flung places throughout Australia and also in Ireland and the UK. But the service hub is here in Perth, Western Australia, and we're delighted to be talking to you about some of the many things we've learned from dealing with our professional services clients. So, onward and upward.
It's Brad here, and today's goal that we're going to be talking about is how to identify and communicate what makes your firm unique. And the bit of, if you like, industry jargon that we talk about is differentiation. So how do you differentiate yourself, your client, your firm for your clients? So first up, what is this thing called differentiation? And quite simply, it's something that makes your firm meaningfully different from other firms. And of course, the key word there is meaningfully different. It has to have meaning to clients. And you don't have to be the only firm with this characteristic. And of course, the differentiators there, you could have more than one. You could combine them to make something that is particularly unique. But to understand all of this, the thing that we're working on, if you like, is the brand, your firm's brand. And we're going to be talking about how to apply differentiators to your brand. And ultimately, the brand, there's lots of different definitions out there, but a really good working definition is to say a brand is who you are, what you promise, and your ability and willingness to keep that promise. So keep that in mind as we talk about discovering your differentiator and where you might find it. So, Scully, like all these things, there's rules. So let's hit the rule book.
Yes, rule number one. Let's stick to the guidelines, and I think hopefully this resonates very clearly. Your differentiator has to be true, absolutely vital. In other words, you can't just make one up. You have to live it. And if you promise a differentiator but fail to deliver, you're actually going to damage your brand rather than. So don't make it up because it sounds great. We're different because we're global, or because we all wear pink hats with yellow dots on. That's fantastic, but you've got to deliver it. Otherwise, you're just going to damage yourselves.
You've got a great differentiator, but your firm's down the tubes.
Exactly. Rule number two. It's got to be important to your client. Just because you're different doesn't actually necessarily mean that anyone cares. I mentioned the pink hats with the yellow dots.
I was going to say, that's where the pink hats fit in.
It's really about it working for your client, for your prospective clients, because it's got to make a difference. So don't forget, whatever you're doing, it's ultimately about the client, because you need to be delivering results, positive outcomes for the client. So any differentiator ultimately has to lead to good results for the client. So make it relevant, make sure it's different from the competition where you possibly can, and if you when you do a little bit of research find that people just don't really value that what you think is an important characteristic, then don't see that as a differentiator. And finally, the third key anchor point, your differentiator has to be supportable. So okay, we've got through the first two, you think you're there, but you've got to be able to prove what you say. The challenge for every differentiator is to be able to demonstrate that it's true. And if no one believes you, hey, it may be incredible, but if no one believes you, then it's never going to work anyway. There's many professional services firms have come up with outrageous claims, and actually they may well be true, but you have to be able to demonstrate it, verify that what you're saying you can deliver, and you can make it work and bring that benefit to your clients. Now, some of the hardest ones are those soft brand differentiators, things like client services. We're committed to all we've got great staff. You probably do, but unless you can demonstrate it, that in itself isn't enough.
Okay, so the question right on everybody's lips is, and we always get asked, is this easy? Absolutely not. Is it possible? Absolutely. It can be done. Every firm can have a differentiator or differentiators that help them set them apart from the competition. So no, it's not easy. This is hard yakka, and I just realised for our overseas listeners, hard yakka is Australian for really hard work. But it is possible. It can be done. Now, professional services firms, often they're on the outside, they look the same. People in business attire sitting around having meetings, working on paper or on computers. The thing is, a concept to be well aware of just before we jump into our ideas is that there's probably lots of firms that do the same thing that you do, but they don't have the same brand as you do. One of the things that was, if you like, beat into me as a young marketer is there's no such thing as brand parity. There certainly might be such things as services parity, but never equal brands. So your brand is already not the same as your competitors. It mightn't be differentiated by much, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So, getting all, CSI, we want to look at the evidence. What's the evidence that this can be done? Well, we've got 21 differentiation ideas for you, and we've got about 21 minutes to knock this on the head. So, Scully, no more than 60 seconds per idea, and we're going to go at these like a bull at a gate. So strap in, everybody. Here we go. So differentiation idea number one is to specialise in an industry, and this in professional services firms. Frankly, this is probably really quite common. However, it is really, really powerful. Are you the accountant to the dental industry? Are you the accountant for the entertainment industry? Are you the lawyer for the roadside mechanic industry? Find an industry, specialise in it. It doesn't have to be in one, but do go in tight. Be specific. And that's number one, Scully. Number two.
This is about specialising and serving a specific role within your client's organisation. Now it's a very successful if you can find what the offering you have actually works within certain clients. But if you can, it's a fantastic specialisation, particularly with perhaps an industry focus. Perhaps the best way of saying this is as an example. If you're the head of an IT at a law firm, it's really comforting to know that your service provider specialises in helping people like you. So it's bringing a certain skill set in tandem with the other services to deliver. So you really understand the concerns, the problems that's faced by your client. So it's not just about the law firm; it's about dealing with certain areas within that law firm. So find that niche and demonstrate that you're able to really make a difference.
Differentiation idea number three is to specialise in offering a particular service. This is also quite a well-worn path to differentiation, and it's good. It's it does work, especially if the service that you specialise in is a bit rare or unique, a bit hard to find elsewhere. But a note of caution on this one, if it's successful, your offering can become mainstream fairly quickly. Think about various forms of compliance. If all of a sudden the Australian Taxation Office is asking everybody to comply with a certain rule, then it becomes mainstream very quickly. But say in Image 7's industry, you'll get things like social media marketing started out as a very tight niche. Now it would seem as everybody's doing it because it is table stakes. So if you're going to specialise there in a particular service, do consider whether it's going to remain rare and hard to find. Number 4.
Now, number 4 is about offering a unique sort of technology or process. Now, by unique, it doesn't mean one that's really inward-looking, and it starts with the assessment and really about the how. The how might be how you internally develop this technology or process. But really remember, this is the client that you're talking to, or your prospective client. It's about being a method that's a whole different way of approaching a problem that offers a unique benefit to the client. So whilst it's all very exciting that there's 47 auditors doing a specific process to get a specific result, focus on the result. And that, if you can demonstrate that you're able to bring a certain amazing way of doing things, which will bring a great insight, now that's a great differentiator. Number 5, Brad.
Number 5 is to focus on understanding a particular target audience. Now, at first glance, this might sound like number 1, which was specialising in an industry, but it's aligned. But understanding a target audience is that if you're perhaps your firm is got a particular type of client, and those clients all work within the audience, understanding that audience. So you become the expert in dealing with high net worth medical professionals, or you become the expert at retirement planning, and so you understand the retirement industry and older citizens. It's a bit broader. It's about understanding, but that means that you can bring your expertise readily to anybody who services that audience. So understanding a particular target audience. Number 6, Scully.
This is all about specializing in servicing clients of a particular size. So not necessarily the sector, but the size. And it's actually a very common differentiator, but some firms amazingly just don't think of it as such. They perhaps don't want to think that they're only dealing with a certain one, or they aspire to have a different size of client. But it gives a huge peace of mind to clients that you understand the nuances, the difficulties that they face when you have other clients of a similar size. So it's not about the sector. So if you work with your just huge organizations, or if you specialize in working with SMEs, small, medium businesses and the rest, it can bring you a real competitive advantage over other firms that claim to be all things to all men. Of course, you can never be all things to all men. So by leveraging your knowledge of certain clients, or types of clients, size of clients, it really resonates well with the prospective clients going forward. Number 7.
Number 7 is that all your staff share a particular characteristic or a credential. So just imagine for a moment that all of your consultants were qualified project managers, or that all of your senior consultants were PhDs. And that's what we're meaning. It's got application across so many areas, and that's the credential side. The characteristics side could be that they all are detail-oriented people, if that's a particular skill that's useful for you and your clients. So creating something there that you can quite literally differentiate, because look at our competitors. Do they have that? No, we have this, and we've got it in spades. Number 8.
specializing in clients that share a common characteristic. Now, what does that mean, you may say? This is about not just dealing with a specific industry or a role, but it's really it's drilling down to the individual in many ways. Let's say you provide accounting tax services for expats, for expatriates. Straight away, that can be an exciting area with clients from all over. So they might be from any country, in any industry, any corporate role, but you will have demonstrated you have a specific knowledge and a real competitive advantage because you know the specifics and the issues they face. So a real common characteristic about the individual or the organization that is a niche to a degree, but it can resonate so well with clients and just shows you understand the problems that they face. Number 9.
Number 9 is to focus on solving a specific business challenge. Now, here the spotlight's as much on the nature of the business as anything else. So to really work, this one has to be a challenge that can sort of be easily recognized. It can be easily seen and identified as a challenge, but tough to solve if you haven't got the specific skills or experience that your firm has. So just a really simple example of that would be to help a firm or a business secure their first government contract or tender. If you've never been there before, that's a bit of a daunting process. But if that's something that you've done dozens or even hundreds of times, there is no issue. That's a really easy ask. And again, a great differentiation idea. Number 10.
Yeah, having one or more of your team who are highly visible experts in their fields. Now this is a classic. It's been around a long time and it works very well. I mean, a lot of firms have based their entire reputation and have built themselves on the back of these things in all sorts of areas. So it's important to just think about how you can demonstrate it, how you can demonstrate that thought leadership, being a real authority on matters. Now, if you have more than one individual, rather than, which I would suggest is a good idea, so you're not just relying on the cult of the individual personality, because who knows what can happen in any firm, but you're really demonstrating a vocal and very visible expertise, then that is a very, very compelling and valuable differentiator to assist your firm. Number 11.
Number 11 is to offer a unique business model, and probably the easiest way to explain this one is if everybody in your industry or profession bills by the hour, but you offer a fixed rate. Voila! That's a different business model and something to differentiate you. Now, not that long ago, in many professional services, that was a real differentiator. These days, not so much. There's lots of professions who are moving into value pricing or fixed fees. So for a unique business model, it can be both meaningful and easy to prove if you've got this unique business model. But again, watch out. If it works, the rest of the industry or your profession is going to be tailgating you pretty quickly.
Now, we all had a special treat there in number 11 because I believe Brad used a French word and broadcast it. So thank you for that. Voila, monsieur. Number 12.
Doesn't mean that I knew what it meant.
Have a specific geographic focus. Now, this is an age-old, very traditional differentiator that, look, these days, because of technology, is losing a bit of its clout, but it can still work in many situations, particularly where local knowledge or sort of face-to-face interaction is an important factor for clients. So don't underestimate the power of geography and the knowledge of the local market. It can work wonders and it remains a very strong differentiator. Number 13.
Number 13 is to offer access to a unique set of information that isn't available anywhere else. So, for instance, in your industry, do you do any research that gives you benchmarking data against some measurable that's important to the industry? If you've got that, then you've got information that's not available anywhere else. Build on it. That can become a strong differentiator. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be that you're the sole subscriber to a particular industry source of information or international set of benchmarking, or indeed if you're part of a wider group of firms, you can get information that comes from global sources done by others. But if you're the only people that have got access to that information and you can do that consistently, that's a great differentiator. Number 14.
Now, this is all about offering a unique set of contacts or relationships that aren't readily or easily accessible to your clients out there. So this is really, people buy people. They have done forever, and they will continue to do so. Many firms have used their relationships. They've leveraged them. Let's say a PR firm, for example, with reporters, editors, and different people in the media, to get results for their clients. Perfect. Now, what relationships, in the case of your firm or your organization, can you bring to really help your clients? Because very often people just don't know where to go. If you've got the address book, the little black book with those contacts, relationships, it can work a long way, and a great thing to be known for. Good differentiator, that one. Number 15.
Number 15 is to do business with a distinctive level of service. Now, really what I want you to pay attention to here is not the level of service, but the distinctive part, because most times offering good or even great client service is the price of entry. It's not a differentiator. Everyone can do it. Most people claim to do it. So for it to become a differentiator, your level of service really, truly has to stand out from the crowd. So can that be done? Absolutely, yes, it can be done, and usually not with too much difficulty. Constant application, yes, but it's not that difficult. Number 16.
Yeah, it's a great one, this one. Distinguish yourselves by the clients you have. Now, how many times have you talked to clients, prospective clients, and said, who do you do work with? And you can see the expression on the face, whether the names you've dropped have really made an impact with your prospective clients or even your existing clients. But having an impressive client list is a real plus for many firms. But you can take it even further still. Some firms differentiate themselves purely based on that client list. And that doesn't just need to be the top end of town. It's about the specific type of clients which demonstrate the specific knowledge and expertise that you bring. So here's an extreme example, but if you do a lot of work in the higher education market and your clients are, let's say, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, then you've got a pretty serious differentiator. Don't hide it. Because that is compelling to anyone. That's a clear demonstration of knowledge and expertise in an area. So it's not just about riding on the backs of your clients, far from it, but it is a way of showing with pride, which instantly demonstrates a depth of expertise. 17.
So 17, Scully, I looked at the clock, and we're going to have to put the foot on the accelerator. So number 17 is to focus on the size of your firm. Now, we are the largest, and then insert whatever you are the largest at. Size sends a signal to the marketplace that you've been successful at something. You had to have been successful to get there, and that applies particularly to professional services firms. So potential clients want to know what you're good at, and being the largest at something, and that really all ties in nicely with a specialisation in an industry or a field, and it sort of shows the relevance of that as well as the success. So find a niche and dominate it. Number 18.
emphasizing the relationship with a group, parent firm, partner. Ultimately, this is about strategic alliances. Let's think of it that way, and demonstrating you're able to bring a whole other level of credibility, knowledge, expertise by these third parties that you're involved with, that you are a partner with. It can just show we may not have everything under our roof, but we know exactly where to go, where to get it, and we have a special relationship that you can only access via us. It's a good one. 19.
Number 19 is to focus on a notable signature accomplishment. So most firms have got the thing that they can point into in their history. And you can build a strong brand differentiator on achieving that notable achievement. For think architecture, it could be a particular building or project, or if it's technology, you've solved a big problem which has become commonly known. They're good examples, but it could also be that one of your partners, and this sort of ties in with the visible expert differentiator, but one of your partners wrote the book on the particular industry that you're targeting. So they're notable signature accomplishments. Mine your history. Number 20.
Specialize in producing a unique or very valuable result. Now, very often it's not always that clear for firms what needs to be done, and often there's a complicated set of business challenges. And if you can show that you immerse yourself within an organization and bring together all of these issues to overcome these different challenges, to come up with some kind of a program or a deep strategic thinking, then that's so valuable, because very often prospective clients don't even quite know how to unpack the problem or how to unlock all these issues, and they're able to throw them all on the table and go, oh, can you help us please? It's kind of how we actually look at ourselves, Image 7, as to unlock the issues and then produce a strategy that flows from that. So it's a really good differentiator and a wonderful peace of mind for clients that they know, oh, I'll bring out this complicated set of challenges and I know that these guys are going to find a way forward. 21.
Number 21, our last one, is to look or act differently than all of your competitors. So most professional services firms tend to sort of look and act a lot like their competitors. And, why? Because maybe you haven't been in the industry for a long time, or perhaps it just feels too risky to be and act different. And we see that all the time. Well, a very different look or feel can be a powerful differentiator for exactly that reason. So just because everybody tends to look and feel the same, doing simple things that make you look or act differently can be very, very powerful indeed. So combining that with other differentiators, and you've got the makings of a really robust competitive advantage. So that's our 21 ideas, but there's 5-step plan to approach and finding those ideas. And Scully, we are really going to need to put the skates on. So step 1, decide how you're going to approach this. There's a place where you can decide what your differentiator will be, and then you go out to create that differentiator that didn't exist before. Or the other way is to discover your differentiator, and that is to look at the firm, discuss, uncover, pick away, find the thing that already exists that maybe just needs a bit more oxygen to bloom and flourish and to become your ongoing differentiator. Number 2.
That's about assessing possible differentiators through research. That's the key word, research. Sitting around in the coffee shop, around the boardroom table, and just going, yeah, we've cracked it, that's it, isn't always enough. Oh, that it was.
I wish it was there, yes.
whether you're considering, whatever you're considering in sort of this a multifaceted approach to differentiate yourself, don't just take for granted that you've nailed it by thinking out loud with your colleagues. Use some research with clients, It's about being relevant to them, and your audience's priorities are actually more important than yours, because you won't have any business unless you're meeting their needs. So use some research, have some experimentation as to how you might present these things with existing clients, with potential clients, and that will really give you a peace of mind if you get affirmation from that this is a good way forward.
Now, step number 3, and this is the crime scene. The crime scene is usually in your own very office or your meeting room at your firm. And the crime is that people try to move forward before they buy the differentiators you want to pursue. By this time, you'll have a menu of things that you could do or think you can possibly achieve, and you want to move forward. Narrow them down. Say, these are the ones that we want to pursue. That's so often missed, and things become really fuzzy thereafter if you don't. So identify the differentiators you want to pursue.
14, validate 14. Did I already say that? Yes, I did. Number 4. Validate those chosen differentiators. Okay, you've had a look. You did that research, I hope, in point 2 that I mentioned, but that doesn't mean you just necessarily unveil to the world. So validate it. Check with your existing, again, with some prospective customers. So some research, some conversations that what you offer, A actually matters to them, and B, you actually deliver. Number 5, Brad.
Number 5 is to live your differentiators, and quite frankly, this is the hard bit, because what we're talking about here is that applies to your brand. So it's more than an idea, it's more than just some concept. It's part of who you are. It's part of who your firm is. So you have to live it every day. And if you're not prepared to live it every day, it's better not to try and create that as a differentiator, because it'll be a fizzle. So must embed it, and we're playing the long game here. This isn't a 3-month campaign. So to the end of differentiators. But just before we quickly go to questions, a few resources for you. A number of ebooks there. You can download those and find .com.au/PSM resources. So image7.com.au/PSM webinar resources. And of course, there is the regular publications where you can keep up to date with us. PSM, Professional Services Marketing e-newsletter. That's the one you can see there on the right. The blogs on the website. The PSM podcast. Now, in the coming weeks, we've got lots of great special interviews. We've got Robert Rose, Tim Williams, Joe Paluzzi, and Mr. Value Pricing himself, Ron Baker, the very prolific author and world expert in that field. So that's a really, really good one, all coming up. And of course, there's more webinars like this one. And so, to questions. So Fiona, back to you.
Thanks, Brad. I do have a question here from Rachel. Her question is, the main point of differentiation in our firm is the people. Is that enough, or do we need more, and how do we do it?
Scully here. I would say the people are strong. That's fantastic, but it's not. The danger with focusing on the people is that it's all about you, if you like, and not the benefits that those people bring. So again, it's not just about these great funny guys that you want to get to know. That may be true, but that isn't enough. It's about focusing on the skills that they bring, the relationships they can leverage to benefit the client's business. So the people in themselves, great, but there has to be a reason, not just because they tell a funny knock-knock joke, but because they're going to bring special set of skills to make a huge difference in your client's business. Hope that's enough.
Yeah, Rachel, I'd say the next question is prove it. So ask yourself the question, can I prove that our people are better than our competitors? And if you can't prove it, then while they might be good, go and find the way to prove it, and that becomes the differentiator that you can articulate.
Great, thanks guys. A question from Paul. How long does the process take of finding a differentiator?
I have known it to be relatively quick, but usually it's long. Not only in the sense of finding the differentiator or deciding on it, but what are the implications of that? These are not things to move into lightly, because it is about your brand. It is about setting your firm apart. So you don't. If something is a differentiator and it's only there for 6 months, well, it's not really a differentiator. This is something that is going to be long-term with your firm. So working through the implications and how to amplify that differentiator so that it is actually of value to you and your clients well, that's a never-ending process. But often, in an intentional way, 8 to 12 weeks is probably a good time that it's got an end time, but it also has got enough inbuilt time for just quiet consideration.
Thanks, Brad. And talking of time, it's marching on.
It certainly is. So we're coming to the end of our time for the webinar. So if you do have any further questions, I know we've given you a lot of information, please email us at psm@image7.com.au and we'd love to answer them for you. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.